Folks, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back in Total War Rome 2. This time a replay courtesy of a viewer of mine, Andrew. I appreciate you sending me this. It was a 2v2 battle, and I think we've done a little bit of 2v2, on the battles recently, but we haven't done a lot of it, so I figured you all might like to see some team action from Rome 2. This is going to be a double Arverni team going up against Iceni and Nervii, so a lot of barbarian play here. Barbarian factions do have some different flavor within, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. But yeah, a little bit of a ambush attack here, and appropriately named are the ambushers from the Iceni, and the Levy Freemen are not going to like this. This is in fact not going to go well at all. Ambushers are going to hit very hard on the charge. They have almost no armor, and they're going to be falling apart quick in a prolonged melee against anything with some staying power, but they're going to do quite well against light spears and the typical kind of units that you'd find on the flank. So an interesting attack here early, and they are backed up by Gallic Hunters, which of course Vanguard deploy unit as well. It's a missile unit, obviously, that can come in and do some shooting and provide some nice support to these ambushers. And then of course there's some heroic riders and chariots moving up to support as well. The one of the Arverni generals here is going to come collapsing in with his noble horse, and these Gallic Hunters are going to be finding out about it in a hurry. These guys do not fight with spears, so they're going to take some serious hurt from a heavy horse like that. However, there is another unit that can fire in, so this will do some really nice damage to the Arverni general. So interesting play to open things here for the Iceni and Nervii team. And the Nervii are actually hitting hard on the opposite flank at the exact same time. And one of the Arverni generals is going to go down here pretty early as well to a hail of Gallic Hunter fire. There's Guerrilla Swordsmen, which again are another ambush-style units, so a very fun ambush play early in this one. And we've got some Mighty Horse here running in too, a decent medium cavalry there. So a lot of action early. Well, the Arverni are a tankier faction, and you can see right up here in the middle, they have a lot of Oathsworn, like a whole lot. I think there's 9 in total, 9 Oathsworn. That is brutal number of Oathsworn, and despite the pretty good success they had here early with these ambush attacks, there is still a huge mountain to overcome here for the Oathsworn, because there's just, I mean, they are so strong, and again, despite some nice wins early, these guys are going to be hard to take down. They have very good morale, they have very high armor, and they are pretty good with their defense as well. So they're just not super easy units to kill unless you have the right tools. These heroic riders collapsed into an Oathsworn here, got quite a few kills, but they'll want to get out of that quickly. It's actually a fair amount of armor piercing that comes from these Oathsworn, so not a fight that you'd like to be in for a long time. Looks like a cheap spear band here, going to be the recipient of some Arverni love that they probably didn't ask for and would rather have not become the subject of. But yeah, there we go. The spear band is going to be cut to ribbons in quite a hurry. Now the cavalry here is trying to keep the Oathsworn away from these Briton slingers and Briton skirmishers, which is definitely the right play. The Arverni at this point are going to have to be quite aggressive. They've pretty much lost all their cavalry support. Yeah, it's all gone. And basically they're left with a lot of heavy infantry and just a tiny bit of skirmishing capability. So they're going to have to make up for those early losses in mobility, which they didn't have a ton of mobility, but they had some. So they definitely came stacked sword heavy. And this can be a winning play, depending on what you run up against. I mean, barbarian swords are very powerful, and they are certainly, I think, what most people would describe as the meta in Rome 2. However, that's not to say that there can't be the occasional upset of the meta, but you know, they are quite good. Look at the Gallic Hunters over here. Boy, they are really pouring it in thick. These Oathsworn are going to take significant damage. I think my question would be, archers don't cause as much armor-piercing damage. They do cause more overall damage, and I think their ammunition may be a bit less than the slingers. Now, if they get shots into the back or unshielded flank, these Oathsworn, they should cause very nice damage. But I don't know how much they're going to be able to take out. It's been a long time since I've had any prolonged missile experience in this game, and so I'm just not 100% certain how many kills these guys can rack up, but they've got a lot so far. These units are causing some significant damage. And then these Guerrilla Swordsmen were doing a really good job of keeping these Oathsworn busy, so this is a pretty good grab by the Nervii to kill that many Oathsworn. And speaking of Oathsworn, there's an enemy Nervii Oathsworn in the midst of two Arverni Oathsworn, so there are many oaths being sworn, and just a lot of swearing, no doubt, going on right now in, in this brawl, which the Nervii do not look like they're going to get the better of it. The heroic noble general of the Britons here is going to be rolling in, Iceni, I should say. And it's going to be fighting. Now, the Heroic Noble is a similar unit to an Oathsworn. I do remember they're a little bit different. Yeah, it looks like the Oathsworn had a little bit higher attack. 45 damage versus 45, so roughly the same damage. So they were similar units. If I remember right, I want to say the Oathsworn was just a hair better. But I don't know, there might be a different ability or something in there. It looks like Headhunt's still there for it, so I don't know. Again, I'm not 100% certain which one of those comes out on top. Probably situational. Look at this, though, here. The Oathsworn were able to catch these Gallic Hunters. This was a huge mistake on the part of the Nervii and the Iceni, and they're going to pay for this one, and possibly with the battle, for allowing these Oathsworn to catch up with a very light missile infantry. And these were tired Oathsworn as well, because remember, they had been fighting. So that was definitely a critical mistake. There's some Celtic skirmishers left out there. Those could be handy in helping to run down these Briton slingers. There's one of them right here doing just that. And they're just going to collapse into combat. I would imagine the Celtic skirmisher is probably a hair better than the slinger. But both of them are pretty crappy when I'm sitting here looking at the stats. So this is going to be a wet noodle fight right here. Despite these guys having some very macho chest hair and tying their cape up around their neck like it's some type of like sweater or something, they're still like definitely wet noodle fight here. Though I have to say the woad going on for the Iceni is looking pretty nice as well. You always got to have some woad in your style, folks. But yeah, there's a lot of Oathsworn left for the Arverni team, a whole lot, and I just don't see much left for the Iceni. And the Nervii are gone at this point. So it was a very interesting ambush attack, and honestly pretty well executed there at the beginning. I think that the biggest problem they ran into here is that there wasn't anything in the middle that could really follow up and pay it off. So like for instance, if they would have pushed the middle of their army up quicker and had these slingers start unloading on the Oathsworn mainline, or at least goading it, that might have allowed the flanks to have gotten a little more purchase, because eventually on the flanks the Oathsworn walked over and they put an end to all those light flanking units and just utterly annihilated them. So at this point, the Briton slingers are just charging in. So they either feel like the battle's over and they're just going to YOLO, or they're out of ammunition, at which point the battle's over and you might as well YOLO. But yeah, I feel like the ambush was fairly well executed. They just came up against a whole lot of armor, a whole lot of shields, and a whole lot of morale. And that can turn into a grind sometimes that you just can't win in the wrong circumstance. So if I take a look at a few things here, there's one Gallic Hunter. This one got 0 kills, probably the one that got charged by that heavy horse. Otherwise, I mean, we're getting a decent number of kills on the Gallic Hunters. Interesting pick there. And then a ton of Guerrilla Swordsmen. So, I mean, essentially the Nervii went all out into like specialty units. And then it was kind of the same way with the Britons here because of the ambushers and the slingers. The trick with this is that it paid off in terms of getting them a lot of kills early. But then it's like once you killed all those soft, squishy flank units, then you ran into the hard meat in the middle of that army, and it didn't go well there as the Arverni Oathsworn came back with a vengeance and just absolutely laid the lumber all over the Iceni and the Nervii there. So it's a fun game, a bit of a different one here because of that ambushing mechanic. I mean, that type of thing was definitely possible in Rome too. It wasn't quite as refined as it is in, say, like Troy, Three Kingdoms, or Warhammer 3. All of those games have refined Vanguard deploys, stock, and all that stuff in ways that I would love to see be more present in an old historical title at this point. But yeah, fun battle. Well done by Sulla and Minlock here, and they were going up against Pertinax and Pontius Pilate. And so yeah, fun battle here. Definitely enjoyed this one. The Iceni Chariots didn't find too much victory there either, which was unfortunate because those are really fun units. They're just tricky to use because of the javelins flying everywhere. But appreciate Andrew sending this one in. Appreciate all the players. Hope you all enjoyed it. Got ourselves some nice 2v2 action. Andrew, thanks for being a viewer and supporting the channel. Definitely appreciated. Glad to see you and your friends still having fun with Rome 2. I had thousands of hours of fun with this game, and I still do. And apparently you all still do too, because I've seen a lot of you enjoying these battles. Anyway, Heir of Carthage is signing out for now. I'll see you all soon with some more action in Total War Rome 2.